Welcome back. All right, so one of the big news items right now around the National Hockey League is that as we come out of the All-Star break, the Edmonton Oilers are looking to make history. They've had 16 straight wins at the time I'm recording this, so what better time to talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins and the winning streak that set the record? Now, the 92-93 streak is interesting. This is a Pittsburgh team that had won back-to-back Stanley Cups and made a decision that at the time I thought was a head-scratcher. They actually went away from that logo and they went to this logo, which was quickly called the Robo Penguin, or the corporate penguin was another term that I heard for it. But I thought it was interesting that a team wins back-to-back championships and changes their branding, even though the branding was popular at the time. Like Lemieux, Yager stuff was moving a lot. Barrasso stuff was popular. Tocchet, Mullen, you name it. Right? A lot of stars on this team. I don't think they needed to do a rebrand. And they didn't win anything with the Robo Penguin on the front of their jersey either. So it was an interesting time. Because going into the 92-93 season, there was a lot of dynasty talk around the Penguins. And the run they had towards the end of the 92-93 season with this 17-game winning streak did nothing to calm the expectations that Pittsburgh would steamroll their way to the Stanley Cup. Now, they did steamroll their way to first overall. They finished 56-21-7. They were 10 points ahead of the Boston Bruins for first overall. In the first round, the Devils didn't really slow them down. They won that series in 5, but then the Islanders did slow them down. This was the playoffs where we saw third-place teams in each division end up being the teams that played in the conference finals. So the Islanders knocked out Pittsburgh in Game 7, a very much hyped Game 7, which most if not all, had expected Pittsburgh to win. They don't. Now, the expectation for Pittsburgh to win, driven by the fact they'd won back-to-back cups and the fact they won 17 games and didn't lose in 18 games going into the playoffs. They won these 17, and then they tied their last game of the regular season. So, let's go through the winning streak. Keeping in mind they were 39-21-6 before the streak started. Not too bad. They had a good record. Unlike Edmonton, who at the time they started their run, they really desperately needed a run like that. So Boston's the first victim of this Pittsburgh winning streak. Pittsburgh wins that game at home 3-2. They did trail first. They get 2 goals from Mullen, and they get a goal from Tocchet. You're going to hear Tocchet's name a lot. Barrasso saved 32 out of 34, and he plays almost every single game during this winning streak. As at this point in time in the National Hockey League, backup goalies don't play very often. The next game was also a home game. That was an overtime win against the Gretzky-led LA Kings, 4-3. Yep, every time Gretzky played against Lemieux, it was kind of a big deal. So they did trail first in that game as well, the Pittsburgh Penguins. So they trailed first in the first 2 games on the board here. Yager had 2 goals. Mullen and Lemieux had the others. Barrasso saved 28 out of 31. Strong game from Barrasso. Then they go on the road, and they win 3-2 against the New York Islanders. They trailed that one 2-1 after 2. So again, slow starts? Sure. They get goals from Tocchet, Murphy, and Francis, and Barrasso with 38 saves on 40 shots. This was a stacked lineup in Pittsburgh as well. Then at home, they win 7-5 against the Capitals. They led 5-0 after 2. It gets a bit sloppy in the third period, but they do pull it out. And Lemieux, 4 goals for Lemieux in that game. Yager, Stevens, and McEachern with the other 3 goals in that one. So Sean McEachern, a player I haven't done a career video on yet. At some point I should. An interesting character, that one. Stevens, of course, a Hall of Famer. If he'd been able to stay at the level he was early in his career, he would have been there, absolutely. Sadly, doesn't stay at that level. But 92-93, Stevens is still a premier forward in the game. And, of course, Yager will be in the Hall of Fame. He has to stop playing first. So keep in mind this is over 30 years ago. He's still playing hockey. Reigert saved 6 out of 10 in relief. It looks like Barrasso got hurt in that game. He played the entire first 2 periods and then about 5 minutes of the third period before Reigert goes in and saves 6 out of 10. Barrasso saved 25 out of 26. So if Barrasso plays the whole game, odds are it's probably not 7-5. Then at home, they win 9-3 over the Philadelphia Flyers. So a little bit of no mercy in this one. They led 7-0 after 2. So there's a little bit of mercy in that, isn't there? In that they could have won by even more than that. Lemieux, 4 goals. So back-to-back 4-goal games for Lemieux. Ho-hum. Mullen, Tocchet, Loney, Francis, and Yager. That's Troy Loney with the goal there. And Barrasso, 29 saves on 32 shots. You get all the goals. You get a good goaltending performance. What more can you ask for, really? Then they go on the road. They win 6-4 against the Oilers. They led 5-3 in that one after 2. The goals: Lemieux, Stevens, Yager, Joey Mullen had 2, and Murphy with the other one. Reigert saved 30 out of 34. So one of the rare starts for Reggett during this winning streak. Then they come back home. They win 7-2, so it's another no mercy game against San Jose. They led that one 4-1 after two. 92-93 was a rough year for San Jose. They won. That was the year they won 11 games. So you could just wipe that one off the record because that doesn't count, right? And there's others over here we'll talk about too. That doesn't count by today's NHL standards. But yeah, San Jose, they led that game 4-1 after two. They get 2 goals from Stevens, 2 goals from Lemieux, Murphy, Straka, and Yager. The only time Martin Straka shows up on the board here. Barasso's back in the net. He saves 27 out of 29. Whole hum, right? Then another home game. They win 4-3 against the New Jersey Devils. They trailed that one 2-1 after the first. They get 2 goals from Tocchet, and they get goals from Lemieux and Yager as well. Barasso, 25 saves on 28 shots. So Barasso playing a lot. He would play in the next game as well, which is a road game. They win 5-3 in Boston. They led that one 3-2 after 2. They get 2 goals from Lemieux. They get goals from Tocchet, Tippett, and Yager as well. That's Dave Tippett and in the lineup for them. Barasso, 36 saves on 39 shots in that one. And then on the road, they beat Washington. So that's the second win over Washington. This one's a little tidier at a 4-1 win. They led 2-0 after 2. They get goals from Stapleton, Stevens, Tocchet, and Mario Lemieux. Barasso, 30 saves on 31 shots in that one. So nice long winning streak. We're into double digits. It just keeps going. At home against the pretty bad Ottawa Senators, they win that one 6-4. And interestingly enough, they trailed 2-1 in the first period of that one. Murphy with 2 goals, Francis with 2 goals, Shell Samuelson had a goal, and Mario Lemieux. Reggett played that game. He saved 19 out of 23. Then we get the another no mercy win, this time against the Hartford Whalers. They win that one 10-2. Yeah, 10. Double digits. And they led 9-2 after 2. So there's kind of mercy in that third period. They only scored once. Mario Lemieux had 2. Jeff Daniels had 2. Tocchet had 3. Mullen, McEachern, and Taglianetti with a goal. So there's Peter Taglianetti on the board. Barasso, 25 saves on 27 shots. And hey, for older hockey fans, there's some names that I'm telling you here right now that you may not have heard on this channel before. Then they go on the road to Quebec. Now, Quebec is getting better, and after many years of being bad, but they beat Quebec 5-3. Now, they trailed that one 2-0 after 1. They get 2 goals from Lemieux, 2 goals from Dave Tippett, and a goal from Joey Mullen. Barasso saved 33 out of 36 in that one. So, yeah, Quebec ends up coming up short in that one. Then, again on the road, they win 5-2 against the New Jersey Devils, so they're on the board twice. Better score away from home than at home. Francis with 2, Lemieux, Murphy, and Yager with goals. Barasso, 30 saves on 32 shots. Montreal, second overtime win on the board. This one's a 4-3 victory. Tocchet with 3 goals, and Ulf Samuelsson with a goal as well. Ulfie's only time on the board in this video. Barasso, 31 saves on 34 shots. And then there's back-to-backs against the Rangers. Ugly result for Rangers in this one, but they'd win a Stanley Cup in 94, so they're close. A away win, 10-4, so a no-mercy win on the road for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Lemieux had 5 goals. So I looked it up. This is not the 5 goals 5 ways. That was back in 88. But in this one, he's close. He had the game winner. He had a power play goal, a shorthanded goal. He had 3 5-on-5 goals as well. So Lemieux was busy that night in being the guy. And Joey Mullen had a hat trick too, just because. I don't know if there were any hats left, but considering this was at MSG, probably. Yager and Murphy with the other goals in this one. Barasso saved 21 out of 25. Didn't have to be great. Didn't matter. They win that one 10-4. And then at home, they win 4-2 again against the Rangers. They led 2-1 after 2 periods. Goals from Tippett. Mike Ramsey. I had forgotten Mike Ramsey ended up finishing out his career in Pittsburgh. Tocchet and Stevens with the other goals. And Reggett, 24 saves on 26 shots. So it was an incredible run. They had a tie then going into the playoffs. And again, they lost in round 2 against the Islanders. So it's not the reason that switching logos isn't the reason they end up missing that chance to win their 3rd straight Stanley Cup. I do think that this winning streak ultimately was part of the problem. And the fact that in the first round they didn't get tested as much by New Jersey, I think the assumption was they were just going to steamroll their way to a Stanley Cup. And the Islanders caught them off guard in that Game 7 and knocked them out. Hockey works that way. This is a team that should have been a dynasty, should have had that 3rd straight Stanley Cup, just couldn't quite get that done. But the 17-game winning streak is still a record at the time I'm recording this. If Edmonton passes it, that means that they justify another video where I would talk about their potentially 18-game winning streak. You know what? Even if they tie the record, it justifies its own video as well. Because I don't know when we'll see this again. There's obviously going to be teams on the board here that weren't great that season. There's going to be teams on the board here who were pretty good. And some contenders they didn't necessarily play during this 17-game stretch. It doesn't take away from the winning streak or from what the Pittsburgh Penguins were able to achieve that season. It was remarkable. And of course, for the Penguins, the one sticky point is they did not end up winning it all at the end of the season. So, yeah, kind of a fun look at a 17-game winning streak from over 30 years ago. You feel old yet? There you go. Thank you guys so much for all your support. As always, hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And by the way, and also, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Thanks for all your support. I'll talk to you again soon.